Let's turn to these comments by Paul Keating today. He did an interview with the Fin Review to mark his 80th birthday. And in it, he spoke about his own age and he compared it to President Biden, who's 81. Paul Keating told the Fin Review that it's no accident people are at their peak in their 40s. You know, certainly I was. And he says that relative infirmity meant that 81-year-old Joe Biden ought to put his cue in the rack rather than seek re-election in November. Graham, you're a baby compared to both Paul Keating and Joe Biden. You're only in your early 70s. What do you think about this suggestion?
75.
I thought you were 74, so there you go, mid-70s. But what do you think about this suggestion that, you know, 80s is too old to run for the presidency?
Well, it is too old to run for the president, but we haven't got much choice because if we don't get him, we get Trump, who's almost 80. So it's 6 or 1/2 dozen the other in America. I don't know what they're going to do about it. I don't know why they can't find better candidates. When I look at this massive nation with all the power, all the money, all the intellectual force that they've got, and yet what do you see? Two old bumbling fools. One of them who doesn't know what room he's in, and the other one who's never read a book. It's not a very good look.
What do you think about this, Michael Kroger?
Well, look, let's be very clear about this. Joe Biden is not going to be re-elected, right? If he gets re-elected, he doesn't start his second term until January 2025, and his term finishes in January 2029. That's 5 years away. So the public are not going to vote for him again. Biden is finished. He's not going to be re-elected. There is zero chance of him being re-elected, and I think there's probably, Sherry, only a 10% chance that he'll be the Democratic Party candidate. I can't see him getting to the line. So you've got Gavin Newsom, Michelle Obama. Do not underestimate Kamala Harris. Don't laugh, everybody watching. Kamala Harris, they've got to be pre-selected effectively by the Democratic Convention. The Democratic Convention is extremely left-wing, and Harris's supporters will be saying to her, the only reason your polling numbers are bad is because you're vice president of that silly old fool who can't stand up and doesn't know where he is. That's Kamala, why your numbers are in the toilet. They will be giving her enormous encouragement to run. There are reasons why Michelle Obama won't run. There's reasons why Newsom couldn't get elected. I would think Harris has got as good a chance as being the Democratic candidate as anyone, because she will be saying, why am I standing aside? I haven't done anything wrong with VP, and she'll be convinced that her problem is because she's VP to Joe Biden.
Yeah, I mean, if Kamala Harris ends up as the candidate, you may as well just keep Joe Biden in there. They're as hopeless as each other for different reasons. Let's turn to these reports today from the Times newspaper in the UK about the death of the Russian opposition leader Navalny. The reports are that he was punched in the heart by KGB operatives after he was effectively frozen. He was exposed to sub-zero temperatures in his Arctic prison. This has come from, so it's the Times newspaper, but they were attributing it to a human rights group. And they said that the bruising on his body was consistent with the one-punch kill technique that's taught to Russian special forces. Graham, look, we know he was murdered. The detail about it still is so shocking, even though it's, we've known about this for a few days now.
Yeah, look, I'm banned from going to Russia. I'm number 127 on Putin's list, because I continue to call him a murderous thug. And if you look at what's happened here, he's demonstrated it yet again. He is a murderous thug.
Yeah. Look, we're talking about Donald Trump rambling. Well, he finally responded to Navalny's death or murder today. He had this weird post saying the sudden death of Alexei Navalny has made me more and more aware of what's happening in our country, as in America. It is a slow, steady progression with crooked, radical left politicians, prosecutors and judges leading us down a path to destruction, open the borders, et cetera, et cetera. Michael, this is a jumbled response that really seems to blame America for Navalny's death. I mean, where is the mention of Putin and Russia here?
This is the problem with Trump. I mean, he's got the right instincts on a whole lot of issues, right, without going through them all. But on some foreign policy issues, his instincts on NATO are right, by the way. He made a ridiculous comment about Putin invading, but he's right that they should pay their way. But on the Ukraine, he's been shocking. He's got a blind spot about Putin, no matter what he says. This was a ridiculous comment he made. There is no comparison between the murderous KGB regime, which Putin is in charge of, and the American legal system corrupts, so some parts of that are. He has a blind spot about some world leaders. This guy, Putin, is one of them. The North Korean dictator is another. He seems to think the art of the deal, I can palsy up to these guys and I'll solve Ukraine within a day, is what he's saying. No, he's incredibly disappointing on some of these issues, and Putin is one of them. His comments are bizarre, Shari.
Yeah, I agree. And why it matters so much, it's not just a side issue, is this comes to America playing the role as leader of the free world. We need the US president to do that. It needs to hold Russia to account. Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, it's part of the axis of evil. We need to know and be clear-eyed about who our enemies are. And, Trump seems to be going down some, crazy obscure right-wing path on this when it comes to Russia and Ukraine. Very quickly before we have to go, Richo, Nikki Haley is still sticking in the race. She had this to say today. Have a look.
I feel no need to kiss the ring. I refuse to quit. South Carolina will vote on Saturday. But on Sunday, I'll still be running for president. I'm not going anywhere.
Graham, what's this about? She doesn't seem to have any chance of securing the Republican nomination.
No, she doesn't, which is disappointing in some respects, because when I look at her, I think she's all quality. I'm really impressed by her. But she just doesn't have the numbers, as they say. And without them, you don't get too far.
Yeah, as you well know, as a famous numbers man, Richo. Michael Kroger, Graham Richardson, thank you both so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you.